video the other day. I think it was a girl saying, we work so hard so that we have money, we're eating and sleeping, but I'm always tired, I'm always hungry, and I never have enough money.
Yeah. Hey there, I'm Craig.
I'm John.
Welcome back to ConBroSationalists.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, we started this before the same way.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get it out on the table, I am a little under the weather. Don't know what I got. It's not that thing. I've already had that thing. I'm fully boosted and vaccinated and all that kind of stuff, but I've just got, there's creeping crud going around, so my voice sounds a little...
Yeah, I'm sure all of
trash-tastic.
Yeah, I'm sure all the watchers are fully aware since I mean, we're 3 hours away and y'all are having the same problems here as we are, and the world's in a bad place with all the sicknesses right now. Apparently.
Yeah, the world's in shambles.
It ran through my house like a vengeance. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had that other thing back in July, and that was not fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm in one room, my wife's in another, my grandson's in another, and then our daughter's in another, so we're all kind of split throughout the house. So it was not a good time at all.
Yeah, no, my wife and son both had it, and daughter at this point.
Right.
Somehow I'm either immune.
You better knock on some wood.
I'm either immune, or at this point, I've had it and just wasn't sick enough for me to be like, I better go get checked.
Right.
So I've been, knock on wood, fairly freaking healthy for all of the crap going around.
Right.
So,
well, and like I said, I don't know. This started out like with a sore throat and a cough, and then it's just, I don't know if it's going to settle in my head or my chest, but it can't make up its mind. But we got things to do, and
hopefully it doesn't settle in either of them.
Well, I hope not either, but. At least if it settles, I know what it is. Right now, it's just stuff, kind of everywhere. Yeah. So
that's how the wife was. So she had stuff everywhere.
Well, it's crazy. So oh man, what's been going on since the last time we kind of talked? I want to use this episode to kind of do a little bit of a catch up on us.
Yeah, I mean, work and video games and. Work's kind of slowly, it's the slower time of year for us. Even though we're still busy, it slows down. Builders are building less and trying to close out their year and also stop things so that they can give their people usually a week off for the holiday and all of those things. And, it's just finally getting caught up on things is a huge relief off of my shoulders. So.
Yeah.
And then... Call of Duty, just working Call of Duty.
Yeah, I did play Call of Duty, like we talked about. I have finished the single player campaign, but I haven't really played anything else. Since then. So
I got back on the campaign last week for a bit.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, man, I just want to build my weapons. So it's hard for me. So I get back online pretty quick, but I need to finish the story. It's a good story.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still play the Division, both Division 1 and Division 2, so I play it every now and then. But, for me, I've always been a huge World of Warcraft fan. Mm-hmm. And Dragonflight came out end of November.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
I've played a little bit, but not a whole lot. So
did you play Elden Ring?
A little bit, but,
I didn't.
Yeah, I just haven't.
So amazing.
Yeah, it looked good, but I haven't I don't have the time to sink that many hours into another.
I know.
Another. If I could ever, not have to go to work and do that full time, then maybe. But I just don't have that.
Stupid God of War rears its ugly head. And I'm like, gosh, I'll go buy a PlayStation just so I can play God of War. But,
yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people have. I mean, that's.
I know.
I think I bought one of the. I think it was the. Man, when was the original Gears of War? When did it first come out?
I don't know. It would have been.
So
it would have been like PS2, Xbox console.
Yeah,
time.
so like 2000.
Yeah, because nothing else
Something like
could have
that.
ran a game like that. It was pretty.
So the only reason why I bought an Xbox was because my wife worked at, and this was when she was working at GameStop. Mm-hmm. She worked at GameStop, and she got the collector's edition of Gears of War. So I was like, okay, well, I'll buy an Xbox now, because I bought the console to play the game. I didn't do it the other way.
God of War and Gran Turismo are
right.
Two games that I'm always
Everybody
like,
has
I should buy a PlayStation 5 and so I can play the new God of War and the old God of War.
Yeah.
Or not the old, but the previous version.
Right.
Since it, I think, came already downloaded on it.
No. Huh.
Yeah. That, so.
I don't know. I know they're selling a bunch of stuff. You know, every time you turn around, there's something new coming out. I can't keep up with it anymore.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm not deep enough. I work too much to get that deep. This is the most I've played my Xbox in years, probably.
Yeah.
Since Halo Infinite came out.
Oh wow.
Which I still haven't completed that game.
But. Yeah, that has been a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, you have kids, and they're either too little that you have to pay too much attention to them, or they're big enough that they're running amok, and you have to pay attention to them. Also, fighting them off from this game's way too advanced, you can't play it. Sort of conversations. So now it's finally to the point where my kids are bigger, they're self-sufficient. I can do my thing.
Right.
I'm still having to fight them off of my Xbox, but that's okay.
Because they want to play with you.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't mind.
To play against you.
Yeah, which I don't mind sometimes.
Yeah.
I have to play at some competitiveness at some point.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, that's the only way you get better, too. Is
And to keep up with these kids that do sit at home all day and just play video games.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, you know, I'm a mouse and keyboard guy, so... going from a mouse and keyboard to console controller, like it takes some time to understand the dynamics of all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's a little bit longer between those things. So
yeah, there's a few of the guys at one of my customers they play computer, because I was telling them that I was playing, and they're like, "Oh, what are you on?" I was like, I'm on my Xbox. Oh, don't even talk to us.
Oh, yeah, no, it's...
We're computer guys.
That don't mean...
We're computer gamers.
Yeah,
I got...
Console versus PC, it's always, it's same thing as like Apple versus Mac.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Pick your poison and go with it.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I'm getting ready for the holiday, so...
Yeah, I'm trying to. I haven't bought anything for anybody at this point. We've been kind of busy doing other things.
Light show,
yeah. But then also moving the storage shed to the warehouse and the offices, and where we're filming this is kind of in a new place.
Yeah.
So the sound may be a little different. The style may look a little different, but we're still trying to flesh that out.
Yeah.
We're going to try and get some filler episodes in here. So hopefully by next time we have a little bit different layout. We've got some ideas in mind on what we're going to do. So, we've just kind of been doing this part-time and kind of half-butting it the whole time. So,
I mean, we both work a lot.
Yeah, we both work on average 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
So we do this in our downtime just to...
and then when we can get together as well.
Yeah,
we talked about the distance between us, and then with people getting sick, sometimes you plan on seeing people, and then it's like, well, it's not really a good time right now.
We better not. Yeah. Well, because I mean, over Thanksgiving, both my wife and my grandson. My wife definitely had strep. My grandson had something. And so we didn't think it would be a good idea to sit everybody in a box.
Yeah, no, and we had,
3 hours to drive down there.
Yeah, the wife and my daughter were still sick at that time, so besides a couple people, we canceled. Some of her associates were supposed to come by just because they're younger and maybe not have family or whatever.
Oh, right.
Or, she had invited a few people outside of the family to come by and at least grab some food, and she flat out canceled with them, and then most people didn't hang around too much.
Yeah. It was kind of, I think I told you yesterday, it was kind of weird because it was quiet in the house, and I would be upstairs. I pulled my headphones off, and it was like I didn't hear the TV or anything else, and I'd peer over the banister, and then there'd be nobody there, so I knew my wife was taking a nap. So I knew it was kicking her butt. So.
Which, in turn, worked out for me because that left more leftovers. So Corey made a bunch of turkey enchiladas.
Oh, nice.
So we ate those for the next couple meals, which are amazing. Are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So
if you don't know what to do with your leftover turkey enchiladas.
Yeah,
I would recommend it.
I mean, we are in New Mexico, so it's enchiladas basically for everything.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And those might be just as good as chicken, if not better. Like it's. I look forward to the leftover enchiladas more than I do the turkey. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Though I haven't had a turkey enchilada in probably 3-4 years, something like that.
Oh yeah.
I think we were still living down there.
And it was probably my wife's.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I think we just happened to come over for something else after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But fun flies, or time flies when you're having fun. Take your pick, either one. So
yeah.
Oh man, my head is so full of stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought we might want to talk about is a little bit is, growing up in Roswell and being around the whole UFO thing.
Yeah.
Everybody has this opinion of, do you believe, and so on and so forth. And to honestly think that we're the only intelligent species in the entire galaxy is ludicrous, right?
Yeah, we know so little about.
Right.
I mean, we're the new telescope, James Webb, with the pictures and stuff that are coming back.
Oh yeah,
just stuff that we've
phenomenal.
never seen, and there's stuff even beyond that. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing just to see how much technology has changed between James Webb and Hubble.
Yeah.
Right? You look at what
we
the
thought
exact
Hubble,
same. Yeah, we thought Hubble was phenomenal.
Yeah, and the James Webb, they're still tweaking and all of that stuff to get even more and better and more defined pictures and all the things that it's going to be able to do.
Right.
Like it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So I know, growing up in Roswell, that's a lot of time what they want to come do. They want to come and they want to visit where it landed. Well, it didn't actually land in Roswell. It was kind of northwest in Corona, right?
Yeah. Closer to Corona.
Yeah, closer to Corona than in Roswell, but
which they used to do bus trips out there.
Yeah, I think for the.
I think it's been the last 2 years now. I don't remember seeing anything on the festival that they do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a couple things about, they may have, somebody may have bought that land and privatized it and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty typical around the state, because being hunters, there's a lot of land we can't get to because it's privatized and you can't go through it. But, so it was just something I was thinking of the other day. Is like, you know what, we've never really like talked about, like our take on the whole Roswell incident. And, I mean, I have my opinion, right? And then I know you have yours, and they may not be in alignment. I don't know that we've ever really talked about it.
I don't think we have actually.
So
I mean, something happened.
Yeah.
I don't really know what. Honestly, the government has been known to do some crazy stuff.
No.
And it was the SR-71 Blackbird that they kept secret from the public for years and years and years, just because it was like the first supersonic jet or whatever.
And it could fly so high, and there's all kinds of stuff.
And that's when they finally came out with it. I don't think it was that big of a deal. It's just like, okay, you have a cool jet.
Yeah.
So if they're keeping stuff like that, I mean, I can only imagine.
Well, here's where I think it kind of stops, right? Like I don't think it was an actual UFO.
Yeah.
I think it was a highly advanced weather balloon that they were doing something.
Yeah.
There were at that time a couple of Japanese POW camps that were in that area. I think it was an accident that went wrong. You know what I mean? Like I think they were testing this weather balloon. They may have been testing pressure suits or some other style of suit for these
advanced.
Little Japanese guys, right? That they're testing for either advanced combat or, NASA was doing stuff at that time as well, right? And like building things for that. So I think they were testing a pressure suit, and because when you go back and you look at like the original description of what happened, they say it was a little gray man. Well, I mean, if you look at somebody who's passed away, right? They don't have all the color in their body.
Yeah.
They talk about the little slanted eyes, right? It could be mistaken.
People getting quick glimpses, or it was the perfect,
right?
Perfect cover up if we're using other people to test.
Well, yeah, and so my thing is I think there's enough pieces there to make you really question what happened, right?
Yeah.
And of course they're not. If the government is doing specific things, as we've come to find out, they don't always tell the truth.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, just the advancement in technology as far as military and stuff like that, the things that we know about.
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the Black Hawk helicopters were another big thing until the one went down, and with Osama and all of that stuff. Like,
it's kind of funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, like it just... I can only imagine the things that we don't know about.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. But to come back to that, the helicopter, right? Like I watched the YouTube of the guy that was actually, he's the one that actually unalived Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
And he talked about that whole thing and what had happened. And he said, like, they didn't honestly know, like, where they were going until about, like, 24 hours ahead of time.
I think I've seen.
And then when they were like halfway over there, they're like, "Where are we going exactly?" And then they kind of said they told them where they were going, but they had at that time those Blackhawks were heavily modified, and even the guys that were riding in them didn't fully know their capabilities.
Yeah.
And the guy said, when it crashed, what the problem was is that on that fence he wasn't able to hover.
Yeah.
So they had to figure out some way to do it so that they could get people inside the compound, but then figure out what they were going to do with that thing on their way out. As when stuff gets done and they're pie-on out of there, like, oh, how do we hide this?
Yeah.
So, I can't state categorically what happened because one, I wasn't there. I wasn't a twinkle in anybody's eye at that time.
Yep.
But growing up there and talking to some of the people that are around there and all that kind of stuff, you kind of take a little bit of stuff that they say with a grain of salt because you don't have any tactile evidence that you could put your finger on and say, oh yeah, this is exactly what happened.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that were alive then are now, I think there's only a couple people left.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be some grandkids that are still around.
But I mean, would you go and tell the tale?
No.
Even if they're able to. You know what I mean? I mean, the whole Area 51 situation, you see clips of videos of people that used to work out there or whatever,
right.
And they still, it is a sealed door. Nothing's ever talked about.
Yeah.
How they come, how they go. Everybody knows that they take a bus and then they're put on a plane and then everything.
Yeah, they actually fly from Vegas.
Yeah, everything else that happens outside of that, nobody knows what goes on at that facility. And
well, unless you watch Independence Day and then they'll tell you.
Yeah, well. yeah. Which who knows? Maybe there's some truth in that.
It could be.
How much truth is there in some of the movies and stuff that we watch?
Well, but I mean, there was that phrase in there where they were talking about, well, where did this come from? And the guy says, well, you don't think they really paid $600 for a hammer, $900 for a toilet seat, do you?
Yeah.
Well, that's where their funding comes from. But is that true? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I've been in government work and I've seen too many of the details of stuff that they go to kind of be able to sneak that. I'm not saying they can't.
Yeah.
Don't get it wrong. I'm not saying that they can't, but the stuff that I've seen, it's just not.
Yeah.
Man, they go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. So
I mean, you have to these days,
Yeah.
especially. I mean, I don't know.
Well, and you do anything with the Freedom of Information Act, what they call FOIA, and you pull stuff out, and there's just it's all sharpied.
Yeah.
Dear redacted, you've been redacted.
Yeah.
Thanks, love you, redacted.
Yeah, because if there's any inkling leading to anything,
yeah,
they don't want you to know about it.
Yeah, and that tries they might, they'll hold the paper up to different things and try and pull that stuff out, and there's just.
But I mean, in today's world, you get somebody's name and you can learn just about anything about them.
Pretty much.
You can find where they live. You can find. I mean, you watch people on YouTube or any other social media stuff, and a lot of them will be like, yeah, people send me threats, or they do this or they do that, and he's like, it's all public knowledge of who I am and where I am.
Right.
Like, if you're really that worried about it, you know where to find me, sort of situation.
Yeah.
Because people take things too serious. But
yeah. Well, and that's that ties back into the conspiracy theory thing about the vaccines. They've got chips in them. Well, my thing is, what are the chips going to do that the cell phone in your pocket doesn't already?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. It just goes one way or another. So,
yeah.
But it was just something I came across. I was like, you know what? Might be interesting to talk a little bit about like growing up there and dealing with some of that stuff, because it was never really a big deal until like the late 90s.
It's helped that economy. I mean, heads and tails.
Yeah.
With the military base there shutting down. Honestly, without that, I don't know where that city would even be. Honestly, because there's no. Well, there's no other like huge revenue source.
There's a lot of farming. There's a lot of dairy, but that's a just, very finite niche.
But cities grow by bringing in jobs or people visiting and being like, "Hey, this is a cool place" or whatever. Without things like the UFO Fest every year and stuff like that, like there's not much going for Roswell. I mean, it being a retiree town way back in the day, now like that generation is unfortunately like falling off. So now it's kind of this like I feel like we're in this rebuild period of trying to find what Roswell's going to be going forward, and changes are finally being made as far as the branding of Roswell. I mean, the UFO stuff's on all of our city trucks now.
Well, it's on all of the water tanks too.
Yeah, which should have been done just years ago. I mean, our Dunkin' Donuts sign is a giant alien.
Which kind of but a lot of that branding that way kind of started with the McDonald's downtown when they rebuilt it.
Yeah, the UFO McDonald's. I mean, it's the only one like that. So a lot of the businesses that are now coming in are buying into it.
Right.
Almost more than the city did up until recently. But we've got I don't know, we still got a long way to go. It's still we still have that old school of, I don't want competition to move in because it's going to put the businesses there out of business. They built that super Walmart years and years and years ago, and a couple of small grocers were freaking out that they were going out of business and all this stuff, and then
it didn't really happen.
No, they're still thriving. They found their niche with having bigger sections of like whiskeys and all of those things, like things that Walmart doesn't do. So competition's good at the end of the day. We need more of it in Roswell if we're going to continue to grow. We've got nothing but land. I mean, we've got to quit trying to charge these companies these high premiums for spaces that we have available when cities around us are literally giving those spaces to people. Just so they will move there. And a lot smaller communities.
But then what happens is I've seen on numerous occasions, you have a company coming in, like we talked about the other kind of airplane deconstruction company that was going to come in. And the things that they did or didn't do, right? Yeah. Or you look at what was Nova Bus, right? And then became TMC, and it's kind of
TMC then Nova Bus.
Right.
Yeah. then
because I think originally it was TMC when it was first founded, and then it moved to. I feel like it's been several different names.
The only two that I ever remember was TMC and Novabus, and there might have been a third one in there. And then...
But then the last one was, Millennium Transportation or something.
Millennium.
They were supposed to be bringing it back.
But that was...
Getting the bus shells and doing all that stuff again.
But that was never the plan, because my dad worked out there, and he knew from day one, soon as Volvo bought... I'm pretty sure it was Volvo... bought that plant, because at the time they were building low floor buses out there, and that's pretty much what everybody was going to. Volvo was trying to build the same bus, but they couldn't figure out how to do it. Every time they built one, they could build a bus. The problem was if somebody hit a curb or somebody hit something, the frames were so taut that it would bust the frame right out of the bus and basically decommission it. So when Volvo bought it, my dad told me, like, immediately, like, that's going to be the end of this factory. He said they bought us to put us out of business because we're their biggest competition.
Okay.
And sure enough, within the next year or two, Novabus or Millennium or whatever, it was done.
Yeah.
And supposedly they were trying to bring it back over years and years, and they were still doing work out there, but it's never come back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just know that there was a bunch of like attempts to restart it and all that kind of stuff, and I think really there's two kind of long haulers that have been there. Christmas by Krebs, as far as I know, they're still there.
Yep.
And Leprino, but Leprino came in kind of late to the game. They were there early 90s, I want to say.
Yeah, which they just did a giant expansion.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. They did a large expansion out there. I think they finished it last year because we supplied a lot of the stuff for that.
But I mean, they had a Levi's manufacturing plant there, up until I feel like I was 10 or 12 when that went away.
Yeah,
it was like the mid 80s.
And then the candy factory.
Yeah.
Which moved into the old Levi's building, and then it closed as well. I don't know if it's I don't know why businesses come in and pull out. Seems like the operating cost in a city like Roswell should be a lot less than somewhere else.
I think if anything, what's happened over the last couple of years with the pandemic, though, it's kind of shown getting quality talent, quality employees to come and work is sometimes difficult.
It's getting quality employees, but then quality employees are putting their foot down finally and saying, I'm not going to work for nothing.
Right.
I can make more
sitting at home doing nothing.
Sitting at home.
Right.
Videotaping myself playing a video game or doing whatever else you can make.
Taking candid shots of my feet.
Yeah. Or going shopping, apparently.
Yeah.
Or
all
the different social media things that you can do, and you can make 6 figures a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to kill yourself anymore.
Right.
The jobs are out there. The workforce, the new workforce has just said, well...
They're just tired of it.
Health and safety is important to me. Benefits are important to me.
Yeah.
So after you get through those 2 hurdles, I also want to be paid to where I don't have to think about getting a second job to struggle with.
Right. Well, and it's funny because I watched a video, and this ties into something else that we'll probably get into a little later. But it was another YouTuber who's had a pretty good following. Was allegedly charged with something that he did 30 years ago or whatever. But it was one of the kind of the people that was talking about like following him, and like I bought all the shirts, I bought all the hats, I bought all the merch, I bought all that stuff. But she says I worked 5 jobs to do that. I'm like, who in the hell has time to work 5 jobs? But what that tells me is that they're not paying enough, that she has to work 5 jobs to make ends meet. Yeah. And that's just a shame.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying that she has the skill set to not have to work 5 jobs, right? I don't know the flip side of that coin, but just being presented that way, I'm like, man, if I had to work more than 1 job, I don't know how
I'd be exhausted.
I'm already exhausted now.
Yeah. Well, like me and the wife have had conversation. I think me and you have too. Like, there's people out there that are always gonna flip a burger, or
right.
Like, there's people that want to advance in the world and maybe have the mental mindset to advance where other people just don't.
They want to do. That's it.
Yeah, like, it's fine for people. Sometimes I want to just go into a job, work my shift, and clock out and not have to worry about it. Where today, like, my mind's constantly thinking about work and tomorrow and
you and me both,
and the next year, and like all of these things, and we and I don't know what the right answer is, but we penalize these people.
Yeah.
These people that's all they're ever gonna do, because either they didn't pay enough attention in school, or didn't work hard enough, or maybe just don't have the mental mindset. I don't know, because I'm not a brain person. I don't know how I develop better than this person, or they develop better than me.
Right.
But we penalize them to where a full-time minimum wage job you can't live on it.
No. Well, and I mean, in this day and age, it's a little different though too, because we now have, inflation is high, cost of things are high, but I think with that, I think corporate greed is at probably some of its all-time highest as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of have those 2 factors that tie into that, and so I've talked with people who are, they're renting an apartment, and their rent is almost what I'm paying in my mortgage.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
But yet they don't have enough working history or credit history to be able to go and kind of bypass that middleman of rent and go into buying something that they can say is their own.
Well, and you have to think of it this way too. If you're barely able to make rent, even if it's the same as a mortgage, what happens when that HVAC system goes out?
Right.
Or plumbing goes bad,
right,
or whatever? At least when you're renting, upside of that is you're not responsible for it. And hopefully you don't have, a shisty renter that you're renting from.
Right. Well, you would hope not, but...
Yeah. That will get it taken care of promptly, but those, it's a lot to take care of a house.
Yeah.
And all of the things that come with it.
So. And that's part of the reason too that they they pay that. They just, again, it's all part of that same mindset, right? I think that people just, they want to come in, they want to put the blinders on, they want to do their 8 hours, they want to knock it out and go home.
Yeah. And you can't fault them for it.
No.
Everybody, I think, is, pandemic or not, I think the new generation, whatever, has done this.
Right.
They are really worried about how is a company going to take care of them, as well as have work-life balance that's going to be beneficial to them instead of beneficial to the company.
No.
A lot of companies talk about it, but at the end of the day, you're staying late, you're working all these extra hours, you're doing all this stuff. So it's okay that they talk about it, but they don't actually help you achieve it.
Yeah. Well, again, it's one thing to do as I say, not as I do, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I think people have just said, you know what, no, that's enough. I've had enough. I'm done. We're going to move on.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what those correct answers are.
Yeah, I don't
by
either.
any means. I hear and see and do things because I manage a business in the corporate world, and my wife does as well. And you can just see, she had a older gentleman from the oil field actually go in the other day and was like, everybody always seems so happy here. How do you do it? I can't even get people to work. And she said, she told him, and it's not the answer he wanted to hear by any means.
Yeah.
But she flat out told him, they don't work for this company. They work for me.
Yeah.
They work 100% because I treat them like a decent human being. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably easier going than I need to be as far as when people need time off and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, they're kids, they're young people.
Right.
They're not chasing the money like they'd be chasing for you. So they're like, they don't want to kill themselves out there working 70 hours a week. I don't know. It's not the answer you want to hear.
Well, no, I mean, it never is, right? A lot of times they want to hear what, whatever it is that kind of aligns with their vision and their stance and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, she flat out told him, then if you can't keep people and you're already paying a premium, then something else is the problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is.
And just because you're a manager doesn't mean that you're a good manager.
No, and I mean, that's not easy being a manager.
It's.
Everybody thinks, oh, you just come in and you don't do nothing. Well, no, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, because it's no longer, once you become a manager, right, it's no longer about the technical skill that you have. Yeah. You have to kind of keep your edge on that, but it's also about making sure that the people that you have are positioned so that they can succeed on their own.
And you should, as a good manager, you should want them to succeed.
Right.
I've been upfront and honest with all of my associates. Like, I want y'all to have everything that I've had.
Yeah.
And if you don't want that opportunity, that's okay. But if you don't want to work in the warehouse anymore and you want to move up to here, I want to be able to give you that ability.
Yeah,
Tell
exactly.
me, like, let's work together to make that happen.
Yep.
It may take a while, but at the end of the day, if the opportunity comes up, then I want you to have it just like I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, I want you to be able to take my job. If I step out or if I take on a different role or whatever, I would much rather move internally than externally.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I told my guys, right? Like, I sat them both down and I said, look, this is the way that this is going to be. Like, my job is to make you get into this position, right? Because there's things that I want to do beyond this. Yeah. I don't necessarily want to be this one specific job title forever and ever and ever. Yeah. No, I want to move on to other things as well. I said, but I can't do that until I know that you guys are ready to take what I'm doing and run with it.
But getting people to do that is a whole nother.
Yes.
I mean, it's incredibly difficult. It's
one thing to say you want it, it's another thing to show it.
When I started with this company, I told my boss, I don't want to be in the position that I'm in. I want your job at some point.
Right.
I'm not going to try to throw you under the bus or do any of that stuff to get your job. I'm way far away from that. But I'm going to outwork everybody to get there. Yeah. And I eventually did. And to talk to the associates that I have now, like, it's they don't have the vision like that.
Right, they don't.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And these are people younger and older than me. They just don't have the vision. Right.
Well, and a lot of them just see, again, they just see like the very immediate future, right? Like, they don't think long term. Yeah. And that's a lot of what a manager does is long term planning.
Yeah.
We have to look at 1, 3, 5 years down the line. Why? Because if I lose somebody in this key critical position, what do I do to backfill that position to get somebody else trained up, right?
And you have to be able to evolve as a person and change as a person. I've changed a lot since I took over that branch. When I took over, I wanted everybody to meet the expectation that I was able to make and my old driver could make. And I learned really quickly, when you try to hold people to certain levels, some people just work more efficiently and faster than others. And if you try to get everybody to meet that expectation, it doesn't happen.
Right.
So I've learned a lot over the last few years, reading books and doing some other things. It's made me a lot better person at work and out of work and everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's one of the things too, is that you have to, going back and kind of coming back to that work-life balance. I read an article about a guy that said there is no such thing as work-life balance. Like, you have a job, and everything that you do outside of the job revolves around the job.
Yeah.
So the job is kind of the center of the universe, right? The people that are the happiest, I think, have been able to figure out that. I don't want to say balance, because it's not, but that medium that allows them to once they kind of walk out the door from work to kind of leave that behind.
Yeah.
And then when they get home, they just kind of shed that, I hate to say mortal coil, but they shed that crap or whatever it is that comes from work. Yeah. And they're able to leave it at the front door and then do the home thing. And then when they're done at home and they know that they got to go back to work, right?
I saw a quick video the other day. I think it was a girl saying, we work so hard so that we have money, we're eating and sleeping, but I'm always tired, I'm always hungry, and I never have enough money.
Yeah. That's
and I was
for damn
like,
sure.
wow, like that's like
for damn sure.
You know that you're doing that on an everyday basis,
Yeah.
but to hear somebody else say it, it was just like, wow, no, that is 100% true. So the things that we're constantly working hardest at, we're just failing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So interesting perspectives. Those little things in life that you hear, that you know, but because you heard it, it's like, oh. Yeah.
Because it just like sometimes things just hit differently that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
harsh realities.
Yeah. But hey, I think we're gonna wrap this one up.
Yeah.
But if you guys have any thoughts on the Roswell incident, government, like we kind of covered a whole.
That could be a huge rabbit hole that could go in a bunch of different directions.
Because growing up there are things that we know, right, from little secrets about the town that that might not everybody else knows.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know about the POW thing.
Yeah.
Well, I knew about POWs in the area, but I didn't, I guess, necessarily.
What's funny is I'm gonna tell you this, and the next time you drive down there, you're gonna see it like, oh, holy crap, that's where it was. But when you drive between Roswell and Artesia on the east side of the highway, heading south, you'll see a row of trees. That row of trees is where that POW camp was. Oh. I don't know how many they had, but.
Well, what about the deal that's in the over there by DeBrum Stadium, behind like the convention center? It's got the old the Iron Cross.
That's because those were German POWs.
Okay, but they were in. Okay.
Well, they were in different areas, right?
Yeah, okay.
But they ultimately built part of the Spring River. Right, and a lot of that concrete stuff. So that Iron Cross was just them denoting that they were there, like the city recognized what labor was done for that. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that it was something like that, but I didn't know where they were housed or.
Yeah, and I think they were housed out at the base, but I think a lot of that stuff's been destroyed.
Well, I'm sure that's.
I think over time and that kind of stuff. I mean, because a lot of those, if you go out and look at the base housing, right? Like a lot of the base houses just aren't. They were built by cinder block.
Well, yeah, and they at that time were like base houses that were nice and functional for what its purpose was. And now it's just kind of now that the base isn't there.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, you can buy if there is anything for sale out there, right? Like you could buy stupid cheap ones. So
yeah, it's a little lower income part of the town.
Yeah,
everything's kind of growing away from it.
Yeah, well, everything in Roswell's kind of grown north now. So
yeah, exactly.
But
anyways, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in the next one. I'm Craig.
John. Peace out.
Peace out.